and welcome to episode 142 of Big Red Barrel Geek Speak, a place for all your nerdy needs on BigRedBarel.com. My name is Jo, and I am the host for this episode. I know. Joining me is the fabulous Alex, the Baroness of Butts.
Ocean's Butt 8.
And also, we're absolutely blessed to have with us Dangerously Darling Diarmuid.
Hello there.
Oh.
Hello there.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
We're good.
It rained a little bit here yesterday. It was fabulous.
Yeah,
oh my god.
I know.
It was like the tiniest little bit of rain, but I was just like, like I got out of the car and it just rained a little bit and I was like, oh yes, oh god, this is what heaven feels like.
Did you just, lift your face up into the sky, spread your arms wide, and made circles of happiness while it was raining?
That shot
it was basically
Redemption.
The end of Shawshank Redemption. That's what it was.
Yeah. Sadly, it was only a teeny bit of rain and it stopped almost as soon as it started, so we need more. It was like a tiny, momentary reprieve from the hideousness that has been this heat wave.
I don't know, we had thunder and the rain was there for a couple of hours here in London.
Is that right? Oh,
yeah,
you're so lucky.
Yeah.
Send it here. We need more.
I love thunder. Thunder
It's
is
quite,
amazing.
Charlie doesn't like it, but I quite like it. Yeah.
Me
when I'm
being
inside.
half deaf, I didn't hear the thunder.
Do you remember, Di, that time when
slept
we
through
were
it.
going
Yes.
back to your place from Alex's house and there was that
Yes.
amazing lightning storm?
It was basically like Thor had a tantrum or something. There was a flash of lightning, like literally every 5 seconds.
Yeah, we were just in the back of this Uber like, ooh. It was quite exciting. Right, anyway, that's enough weather talk. On with the show. And we'll start off, as ever, with our Time Waster of the Week. And this week, I believe it comes courtesy of Alex.
Guys, we all love Terry Crews, right?
Who doesn't? Honestly.
who
I
really
disown
doesn't?
anyone who doesn't.
Show me a person that
Exactly.
loves Terry Crews and I'll show you a person that is dead inside.
Doesn't love Terry Crews, right?
That one,
You've got to love Terry. You've got to love Terry.
He did a little video for GQ, I believe, breaking down his 10 most iconic characters. And guys, it is an absolute joy. I think I said this before we start recording today. Under this wall of fabulous muscles, there is not one fake bone in that man. He's so genuine. He's so real. He's so unbelievably charismatic that you don't even need to, know about his roles to watch that and to be like, oh, Terry, every 5 seconds, because it is so good.
Yeah.
He is wonderful. He is like a god amongst men. I'm watching, when the whole Brooklyn Nine-Nine almost cancellation thing happened, I must confess, I hadn't watched it before. So I've started watching it since, and not only is it amazing, and I'm an idiot for having not watched it before.
Terry loves yogurt!
But Terry is just the heart of that show. He's just the beating heart of that show. He's the moral compass for all the characters, and he's wonderful. And I love it. I love him. More Terry in everything.
I think this is, in this video, they discuss, obviously, one of his roles being Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
And apparently the writers wrote the character and named him Terry. And then what they did was they called him up, because at the time he had other commitments, so he wasn't able to commit to the show. But they called him up and they were like, hey, just so you know, we named the character that you're going to play Terry. So imagine someone else playing him. And he was like, damn it.
Now I gotta play him.
No, it is a very good video. Because, he really does go through his career, the smaller parts that he got that kind of got him started. And, he even talks about the stuff that doesn't really reflect too well on him. Like, he was in a comedy show that trivialized male sexual assault. And he said, looking back on it, he doesn't feel comfortable with it. But at the time, they weren't thinking about it. He's incredibly forthright in his view. He just says, honestly, I probably wouldn't do it again, but at the time we were kind of doing it as a serious thing and it looked funny when you do it serious. And he was kind of thinking about looking at the process rather than the overall context of what he was doing. He talked about on The Expendables, where he wasn't being given enough lines and he was almost ready to throw a tantrum, and then he just kind of had to have a conversation with himself, and he goes, do I want to be that guy? Do I want to be the kind of the diva? Ask for that stuff, or do I just kind of change my attitude? And he talks about all of that, and he's very honest about it, as Alex said earlier. It's a very good video. It's well worth watching.
He's a very inspiring person. I think he's talked about things he's dealt with in the past, like he's a sexual assault survivor and things like this. And I just find him incredibly inspiring how he doesn't allow himself to suffer with bitterness or anything like that. He's just endlessly positive and optimistic and always wants to kind of strive for the best in himself and for those around him. And that's just great. Like, the world needs more Terry. Like, more people like Terry, please. And then, you know, I think, like, we'd be in a much better place. Terry for president! You heard it here first. Terry for president!
Agreed.
Basically, we're gonna put the link into agenda. It's 20 minutes of absolute joy and happiness, and you should do yourself a huge favor and set aside those 20 minutes and just watch it, and you will come out of it a better person. Absolutely. I guarantee.
Absolutely. So anyway, that's our time waster of the week, and now we move on as ever into the news, and it's been quite a busy week for news so far. We've had the Emmy nominations, and I'm mad about this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I bet you are.
So, Alex, do you want to just take us through quickly the sort of key points as to what has been nominated, and then I can have my rant?
Okay, so look, I wouldn't say a lot of it is unexpected. Game of Thrones, I think slightly undeservedly, is leading the way with the most Emmy awards. I'm still, the only thing in Game of Thrones that I'm absolutely happy is that Nicola Costa-Waldau was nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actor. What Peter Dinklage is doing there, I have no idea. He had a rubbish season as far as I'm concerned. I think they just have to nominate him for Game of Thrones as a tick, really.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes me super happy in that category, that Mandy Patinkin is nominated for Homeland.
Yep.
There is obviously The Handmaid's Tale is a big feature. The Crown, Westworld, This Is Us, absolutely deservingly, is also a big feature in there. I'm more looking at the drama series because I have not really watched a lot of the comedy stuff, so drama is where I'm more comfortable with. Another thing to notice, I think it was the last season of Americans that I sorely need to catch up on, but obviously Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys were both nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress and Actor, respectively. The Crown features a lot. There was the thing about Sandra Oh being like the first Asian woman to be nominated for Emmys in The Killing Eve, and I literally went, really?
Yeah.
Is that the first time?
That's quite surprising, isn't it?
Seriously?
And quite bad that this is the first time. But good that it's happening. I mean, in that category, she's up against some really tough competition. Like, we have Elizabeth Moss, obviously, who, personally, I think this second season of The Handmaid's Tale isn't as powerful as the first. I feel like it's struggled a little bit in terms of it feels a little bit torture porny at times. And I'm kind of like, okay.
Well, it's not based on a book anymore, so I can see,
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, okay, it needs to kind of get back to its core message a little bit. But Elizabeth Moss doing great work continually in it. Tatiana Maslany is up again for Orphan Black, and now she's incredible at that. When you think about how many different roles she's played in that series and how distinct each one has been and how well she's done at balancing them all. She's a cracking actress, and so it's really nice to see her. And of course we have Evan Rachel Wood for Westworld. Yeah, so that's interesting. What I find quite interesting there is that she's up in the lead category and Thandie Newton is up in supporting. Now, I wouldn't have thought that Maeve was a supporting character. I see her as a lead, personally. But, you know, maybe they've done this to kind of split the vote a little bit and sort of... Because I think Thandie Newton had a fantastic season on Westworld this year. She really made me feel it. And I actually feel like Evan Rachel Wood became a bit kind of cardboard cutout, sort of evil character stereotype sort of thing.
Yeah, she personally addressed a lot of that comments because a lot of that was thrown at her, especially when the beginning episodes of Westworld were coming out. And she took it on very well, I thought. I'm not going to try to rephrase her what she said, but if anyone's interested, you can like check out her Twitter. It was a whole sort of storm controversy, blah blah blah, whatever. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll easily find it if you're that interested. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought Thandie Newton was main role, like especially looking at the other people in the category. Obviously, Yvonne Strahovski definitely supporting. Vanessa Kirby from The Crown definitely supporting. Alexis Bledel from Handmaid's Tale definitely supporting. Millie Bobby Brown, I guess, supporting.
Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I think they do this so that they have more chances to win in more categories. They just kind of split them up.
Yeah, they do that at the Oscars a lot of times as well. They kind of, even if there's two lead actors, they might put one lead and one supporting to make sure that they have a good chance in to win two gongs rather than put people up against one. It's
So, am I correct in understanding that that's the sort of the TV series or franchise specify who is nominated for what, not the Emmys themselves?
They put forward their sort of nominations for each category, and then obviously the list gets whittled down from the judges, etc. I think an interesting category, like we've touched on it already, is the outstanding supporting actor in a drama series. Obviously, we have 2 Game of Thrones going up against each other. I don't think either of them will win it, and they probably shouldn't.
Do you know what? I will absolutely disagree with you, especially with Nikolai Coster-Waldau in the latest season. I honestly think in Game of Thrones right now, he's one of the most interesting, sort of complicated characters at the moment. And again, not to mention my favorite, Joanna Robinson, but when the Emmy News got announced that she just did a series of tweets, like a tweet thread, was just showing his emotions and his facial exchanges in the different situations. And that really shows he's been playing an outstanding performance throughout. But this season, there were so many incredible Jamie moments in the last season of Game of Thrones. Like, honestly, I think, and you know my relationship with last season of Game of Thrones, it's a very
hit and miss.
It's a tortured one at best. But this was one person who I was like, you nail it every single time.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah, he's like the linchpin of the show, I think, right now. But the reason I don't think he'll win is because of the other people in this category.
Yeah, he might not.
Personally, I'd really like to see David Harbour win it for Stranger Things. He won't, probably. I think Mandy Patinkin's going to walk away with this.
Really?
I think so.
I don't think Homeland is appreciated enough, to be honest. I think it feels a little bit lonely in that category. I would bet for Matt Smith if I was betting. Yes,
Matt Smith is a very, very strong contender. But, you know, it's just, the whole sort of nominations are fascinating, and you kind of look at what's been sort of nominated and what's been dropped, and this is where my rant is going to come in.
Yeah. Can I just add one last thing before you begin your rant?
Certainly.
What I am happy about is that Ted Danson from The Good Place got nominated for Outstanding Lead in the Comedy Series. That's just one little thing I wanted to add.
Well, why is The Good Place not up for Outstanding Comedy Series? Why?
I have no idea.
To me, that's ludicrous.
I mean, this is an idiotic list, and as far as I'm concerned, Kristen Bell should be nominated there too.
It's ludicrous. Like, I know a lot of people like Kimmy Schmidt, but I feel like The Good Place is far superior in a lot of ways, and it should be there. It should be there, and it's not. So that's a shame. But yes, my big rant is, where the fuck is Twin Peaks? Where the fuck is Twin Peaks? I'm sorry, you're going to have to bleep out my terrible language, but this is ridiculous. Like, it wasn't eligible last year because of the timescales, so it wasn't actually eligible to be nominated. And so people thought, well, you know, it's really kind of reinvigorated the whole medium. It has to be nominated for the next Emmys. And it's almost nowhere to be seen. I think it's got like 3 nominations or something in some technical categories. But it's absolutely boggles the mind why it is not up here. There were episodes of that series.
I mean, Kyle MacLachlan. I mean, how'd you nominate that man?
For a start, his work on it is some of the best work I've seen on TV in years. Like, the way he deftly handled the different character things he was dealing with. I don't want to go into too much because it's quite heavy spoilers, because Twin Peaks is that kind of thing that you really do want to experience it for yourself and not have someone tell you what happens. And there were things that show did in single episodes that I have never seen done on TV before. It absolutely reinvigorated the whole medium and just did things that I don't think anyone else would even be brave enough to try. I feel like the reason it's not been nominated is purely because it tanked in America in terms of viewers. To me, I think that's ludicrous. It should be absolutely leading the charge in terms of outstanding drama series. I mean,
do you think it's the reason that basically they forgot about it because it's been a long time?
No, I just think it's just sniffiness. I think it's because it didn't get the viewers, because people obviously... It's hard work to watch because it doesn't give you an easy ride at all. It rewards people that are going to have the patience to stick with the show that's going to befuddle you, confuse you, but also just do things that are completely out there. And it's so worth it. It's absolutely worth it if you care about creativity on TV at all. And I just feel like, it kind of, they were like, well, nobody watched it, so we won't nominate it, kind of thing. I don't want to say Americans, because that's a bit kind of stereotypical, but it's just such a shame. For me, looking at that list of outstanding drama series, it's better than this series of The Handmaid's Tale, by far. Like, this series of The Handmaid's Tale has been really kind of hit and miss. It just should be there. It should absolutely be there. And it's made me angry that it's not. Because, you know, it just deserved it. It was just the best thing that I watched on TV the whole year. by far. Just disappointing, I guess. Disappointing is the word. But that's my rant. What are your guys' sort of favourites from the list? Because there are some good things in here, obviously.
I'll be quite honest. I was reading through the list and I was like, haven't watched that yet. Haven't watched that yet. The amount of stuff I haven't watched is kind of shocking. However, I like the stuff that I have watched. I'm looking at them going, yeah, that person certainly deserves to be nominated. Are they going to win? I have no idea because I haven't seen any of the other stuff in the category. So it's kind of one of those cases where I don't really know too much about the certainly the comedy series. Similar to Alex, I haven't actually watched a lot of those. So I'm just kind of falling back on, Good Place should be there because it's the only one I bloody watched and it's the one I enjoyed. So, things like that. But I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was the outstanding, what did they call it? The limited series, I think.
Yes.
There's the Alienist, which I watched recently, and that's nominated in there. And I haven't seen the other ones in there, so I can't say it's going to win, but like it's an incredibly good show.
I watched one episode of Patrick Melrose. And Cumberbatch is brilliant. Benedict Cumberbatch is great, and actually it would be a brave person to vote against him in the acting category that he's in. I think he's in the outstanding lead actor in a something in a limited series. It would be a brave person to bet against him in that because he does do incredible work in just the first episode. But overall, I found it really quite dull. Maybe it's just not for me. Maybe it's kind of the thing that will appeal to people that sort of like different things. But yeah, and Godless as well in this series, that was incredibly dull and really quite languid and not at all well structured. And when you compare something like Godless with things like, Westworld and Twin Peaks, it shouldn't be there. It's in bad company. It's the bad apple in that sort of list. So there are definitely a few missteps, but really nice to see Stranger Things nominated. Love Stranger Things. I'd be happy for that to win everything. So
yeah, I'm kind of happy that there's a couple of nominations for Black Mirror. So for Letitia Wright, obviously from Black Museum, and Jesse Plemons for USS Callister, and I think USS Callister is also nominated for another category, which is really nice.
Outstanding TV movie, which I find fascinating because it was really part of a series. So, but that's really interesting how they've kind of spread.
Well, I mean, they're sort of standalone. If you
actually,
really want to nitpick on it, so I can see where it goes.
I'm hearing very good things about Fahrenheit 451 that's up in this category as well.
I really want to watch that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it available on anything here yet, so I guess we just kind of have to wait for that one a little bit longer. But yes, quite keen to see that.
A quick note to also Jessica Biel nominated for Sinner that both Joe and me watched.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay.
Which I quite liked, actually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was like mind-blowingly good, but it was a very enjoyable thing to watch.
She was very good in it. She was very good. She was,
yes. I think if you ever had concerns that she wasn't a good actress, that's the series that tells you, no, she is.
Yeah.
She's really good.
And Laura Dern up in that category as well for The Tale. And obviously love Laura Dern. Love anything she's in. So yes, she's very good.
I mean, if there is one thing I would personally cheer, definitely wouldn't be Game of Thrones. I just mentioned it out there. Why not? I was already kind of dumping on them, so I might as well do it for the last time.
Go full blast.
What I would really cheer for is This Is Us. And what's slightly upsetting me is that Mandy Moore wasn't nominated, but Sterling K. Brown and Milo Ventimiglia were. So I'm quite happy about that, because I honestly think that's just a really great show.
Yeah.
That I would recommend watching.
I think the slightly under the radar pick that I'd recommend from this list is in the documentary category, which was Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, which was the documentary basically about Jim Carrey when he played Andy Kaufman in the film. I think it was called The Great Beyond, actually.
Or Man on the Moon?
Man on the Moon. Yes, that's it. Man on the Moon. Brilliant film. And this documentary was absolutely fascinating, going into how Jim Carrey basically just completely involved himself in that role so much that he almost tanked the film because it just became so difficult for everyone to work with, because he essentially became Andy Kaufman throughout all aspects of production. And it's absolutely fascinating. And Jim Carrey is a really, really fascinating individual, I think. Like, he's so much more than what a lot of people give him credit for. And this documentary, it features interviews with him then and now quite strongly, dominantly, and just absolutely fascinating to see how becoming who he is has changed who he is. Really, really good. So I give the shout. I think that's on Netflix. So, give that a shout out, definitely.
Yeah, and by the way, just above it is Icarus, which was a documentary about Russian doping that I think won the Oscar. Is also on Netflix. And I haven't watched it yet, but it's saved on my list to watch. But if you are interested, that's apparently a really good thing. And if you have Netflix subscription, go find it out.
Yes, definitely. So yes, mixed bag for the Emmys. Some really good stuff and some glaring omissions. But we'll have to see what picks up the awards. I don't know when the awards actually take place. I don't think it's that far away. But yeah, we'll see what actually wins. But moving on with the news, and this next one makes me very happy. So Danai Gurira, from Walking Dead and Black Panther fame, is up for Godzilla vs. Kong and also the next Star Trek movie. Not the Star Trek movie that Quentin Tarantino is doing, that's a different one. She's up for the next mainline Star Trek movie. So, yes, so this is good news. Danai Gurira is a fantastic actress, and I would be ecstatic to have her in a Godzilla movie. And while we're on the subject of Godzilla, did you all see the picture that was released, the first official image?
Yes, we did.
We saw your boy. We saw your boy.
We saw my boy. Yeah, it looks great. Nuclear breath into there. They're not messing around. They know what people want from Godzilla. And I think we're going to get a trailer soon after Comic-Con. So exciting times. But yes, so what do you guys think about this?
It's good news.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that Okoye kind of put her more on the map, because honestly, while she was great in The Walking Dead, I for some reason people just kept not noticing her and not giving the roles that she deserves.
She's fabulous.
She is absolutely fabulous and fantastic actress, and she stole the screen as Okoye. Okoye, there's so many great things about Black Panther, but Okoye is definitely right there at the top.
My favourite thing in the whole movie. I adore her. In fact, I have Dave, my fella, got me a mug that's basically Little Miss Michonne, because he knows that she is my favourite. I love her in everything. And yeah, so...
Also, in Infinity Wars, she has 3 lines.
Yeah, but she's still the best.
Steals the screen with every single one of them.
Oh yeah, she's still the absolute best in that film. Yeah, by far. By far, I love her. But it's just made me think, on the subject of The Walking Dead, obviously we're going to find out more about the next season. I know a lot of people have stopped watching it. I'm still watching it. I will see it through to the bitter end.
Good super.
I will see it through, and God, I'm hoping that they announce that this is the last season.
I think they're going to have to, based on the news that's come out in the last few weeks.
End it. It needs to be put out to pasture. I still enjoy it. But God, it is a shadow of its former self. It's just... She is one of the things that manages to just about hold it together. And, yeah, it needs to stop. I love it. I loved The Walking Dead, shall I say. It really, anything with zombies in, I'm kind of, on board. And especially post-apocalyptic sort of survival-type dramas. But the last couple of seasons, especially, it's just massively lost its way and forgotten what people loved about it to begin with, and it's over. They need to just let it die properly. In the head, bullet to the head,
or decapitation, whichever works.
Both works. Both work. But anyway, back on the news with Danai Gurira. Also, yes, as I've said, the Star Trek movie that she's in line for, nothing to do with the one that Quentin Tarantino's doing, which of course is incredibly exciting that he is doing a Star Trek movie. I'm so on board with that.
I'm so tripping over that news.
It's just gonna be amazing. Can you imagine? Oh,
I can barely... It'll be either beautiful disaster or the most genius thing I've ever seen.
It'll be fabulous.
Do you speak Klingon, mother effer?
Yes.
I picked.
Yes. Oh, I'm so on board. I can't wait. The thing with Quentin Tarantino is, a lot of people, for me, he has not made a bad film. Yeah, I don't think he's made a single bad film. Some people don't like Death Proof, and some people don't like other stuff that he's done. But
man, I love Death Proof for all its stupid things.
I think it's criminally underrated. I think Death Proof is so much better than people give it credit for. But, you know, to me, he's not made a bad movie, and the concept of Tarantino bringing his unique style to Star Trek, that is something to be celebrated. But anyway, sadly, that is not the one that Danai Gurira is on the line for. She's potentially going to be in the latest in the rebooted Chris Pine series. So, yeah, on board with that. I'm psyched to see whatever she brings to it, to be honest.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Same.
But anyway, yeah, Godzilla, though. He looks so pretty.
Let's hope she doesn't get stomped.
Oh, I'm so excited for that film. So Godzilla King of Monsters we're going to get next year, of course. And then the one that Danai Gurira is in line for will be Godzilla vs. Kong, which is the year after. So exciting times for Godzilla fans. Anyway, I could talk all day about Godzilla,
exciting
as you guys know.
For Joe's out there.
So moving on to something I don't care about nearly as much as I do about Godzilla. Fortnite. Season 5. It's a thing. It's had its Season 5 update. Someone that cares about Fortnite. Talk about it. Go.
I sort of care about Fortnite. The thing that I wanted to mention is they've introduced a bunch of stuff for Season 5, including a new part of the map. They've introduced all-terrain carts. They just finally give in and are like, fine, we're gonna have vehicles. But you can jump on the roof, though, so we're still Fortnite. There's a whole list, and, like, there is rifts. Did we have rifts in the last one? I felt like we had the beginning of rifts.
Yeah, it was kind of starting off. I think that's the kind of the event. Season 5 is titled Worlds Collide, so there's going to be elements from different, like a multiverse almost, spilling into this universe. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that's going to go. It's a weird kind of overall meta storyline going on that's kind of strange, but like that's kind of that's what's caused a lot of these new changes. So for instance, the map changes is because of this. So if you're a fan of the show, then Moisty Myers is now gone and replaced by a kind of a sandy desert-like oasis.
God damn it. I needed to open some chests there.
I'm sure they're still there. As you say, they have introduced golf carts that you can drive around. They've also made some kind of platform-specific updates. So, for instance, on the Switch now, one of the things that the Switch has in a lot of its kind of shooters is gyroscopic-assisted aiming. So you can still aim with the right stick, but then if you need to tweak it last minute, you can kind of just tilt the controller or the entire Switch or whatever, and it'll help with the aiming. It's something that I loved when it came on Vita with the Uncharted Golden Abyss, and I've always wanted them to kind of make that maybe not a standard, but certainly like an option on console games, but they don't seem to do it. But with the Switch, they have added it. So that's quite cool. In terms of the Season 5 update as well, obviously a lot of people seem to be jumping on it because I've heard rumours that it's the cause of the recent PSN issues.
Oh.
So that'll tell you how popular it is as well.
Seriously?
But anyway.
We've been suffering, by the way, speaking, that's not an agenda, but seriously, get your crap together, PSN. For 2 days, we've been struggling to set up a party and play games. We had a Diablo date yesterday that just completely failed through because we just couldn't join each other's game.
Apparently that's resolved late last night, so hopefully that means we can do that later.
Right, when we stopped playing, that's when
exactly. Yeah.
Thanks.
It was us that was causing it. But yeah, this Fortnite just seems to be going, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop.
It's very good that they keep updating the map and adding new things. Like, in terms of keeping the game fresh and keeping people interested in it, they are definitely on point with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for me. I played it a few times and I find it very hard to kind of get excited about it. But I love that so many people love it and that they're having a good time with it and that they're responding by keeping the game fresh and exciting. So, yeah, that's great. That's to be recommended for sure.
Look, I'm not the person who plays it every day, but say I play it every week or every other week, depending on how... sometimes we play it every day, but sometimes there are breaks. And I remember coming back after... like a week's break or something, and they had something new in the air, and they had the circles. When you jump, you go through circles, and you have to go, like, there's always at least something bit where you go, that's interesting. Oh, now you can see where you land because your marker showed up. So there's a lot of little, like, kind of also life changes that are good. and that help you out as well. And I'm looking at this article on Polygon that did sort of a very comprehensive job of outlining all new, including bug fixes and like UI stuff and audio stuff that I'll probably link to the agenda so people who are interested in Fortnite can just go in detail and read all of that, because we're obviously not going to go into every single tiny update that they made. It's very comprehensive for Season 5.
Right, so moving on from Fortnite, we're going to talk about Xenomorphs now.
Yep, this is a news sponsored by Joe. Or there because of Joe.
I didn't even put this in the agenda, so this
I
is
put it, because I saw it and I was like, Joe, I need to put it in.
So if Godzilla's your boy, the Xenomorphs are also your boys.
Oh man, can you imagine Godzilla versus aliens? Oh! Who would I cheer for? Really? What
You
would I
just
even
want
do?
them to stop fighting and, be
Just
friends
hug.
and stuff.
Yeah. Just don't fight. Just have a hug. It's fine. Just kill all
Have
the
a
humans together.
magical hug that makes a beautiful Godzilla alien baby.
My alien babies. Anyway, so an unproduced Alien 3 script is getting adapted into a comic. So this is nice. So Dark Horse Comics through the years have done many Alien tie-in comics. There are so many. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. But so this is nice that they're doing another one. Apparently it will focus on a screenplay that William Gibson wrote in 1987, but was discarded and the story that became Alien 3 was chosen instead. And this story would have focused on Bishop and Hicks. So this is quite nice. Something a little bit different. See what happens.
How would you have felt if the Bishop Hicks was the actual Alien 3? Like, if there was no Sigourney Weaver, how would you feel about that?
You know what? It's actually hard to say because I like Alien 3. I know a lot of people don't, but I actually think it's quite underrated. And especially the extended edition, it's got some stuff in there that's really quite interesting. And it's pretty critical that Ripley is involved. But an alternate story with Bishop and Hicks, that would be interesting too. I know a lot of people really hate, like, spoilers here, but, that they killed off Hicks and Newt immediately. And that actually kind of retconned the entire Dark Horse Comics line, because a lot of the Aliens comics focused on Newt and Hicks in the events after Aliens. So they were like, well, okay then. And apparently in future prints, they changed the names of the characters, so they were no longer Newt and Hicks.
To Mute and Bix.
They were, hang on, let me look at it. They were called... they were called Newt became Billy, while Hicks became Wilkes. So they got for future printings they all got rebranded. So I can imagine that collectible printings of the original versions are quite valuable to certain collectors. So yeah, this miniseries will be simply called William Gibson's Alien 3. It's going to hail from writer-artist Johnny Christmas. What a name, Johnny Christmas. That's a good name. And colours from Tamara Bonvillain, or Bonvillain, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, those names are all great.
Brilliant names. I mean, Johnny Christmas, is that his real name? I really hope so.
I think that's almost better.
It's like, see, I immediately think of Johnny Utah in Point Break, which is possibly the greatest character name ever. But Johnny Christmas, so good. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this. That's cool. Like, Dark Horse have done some really, really great Aliens comics. Like the Outbreak series was really good. And I think they did a collection, with Outbreak, Nightmare Asylum, Female War, and a couple of other things that was very good. And there's so many brilliant things. So if you like your comics and you want to kind of get buried in the alien mythology, then Dark Horse are where it's at. So yeah, this is exciting. See how it goes. See what the story is. Could be quite good.
Agreed.
So anyway, I think that's Joe's news for today. Next, Zombieland sequel, which has been talked about for quite some time, is officially a go, with Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, and Abigail Breslin all on board. Di, tell us about this.
It's been like almost 10 years since the original Zombieland, and I love that movie. I loved how it was put together. It was incredibly well done, had some excellent cameos, which I won't mention in case anyone hasn't seen it. But like, I really enjoyed it, and I remember almost straight away they were talking about a sequel, and then it just kind of kept going and going. It was like a Duracell bunny. Eventually, like, I honestly gave up hope that it was ever happening. And then a story broke this week that basically said that, not only is there going to be a Zombieland sequel, it's going to have all of the original cast, like the main four people, Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Abigail Breslin, they're all back. And some of those people have had big movies since then, so it's kind of amazing that they were able to get them back. But it's also going to have the same director, Ruben Fleischer, and it's going to have the same writers in Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese. So, like, that's all good news.
With Ruben Fleischer, he's doing the Venom movie now, right?
Yeah, I think that's out. Is it this year or is it next year?
I think it's this year. I think it's this autumn time, I think.
So.
Not sure. I'm kind of intrigued by Venom. I think it looks problematic in terms of some things, like there's some of the approach to the character, but I actually think the cinematography is what is striking me the most in the trailer that we've seen so far. So yeah, I'm kind of interested for Venom.
I'm going to go into it with low expectations.
Probably wise.
Just based on the trailers, I don't think they've been cut together very well, but that could be just up to the whatever marketing company has actually done.
Yeah.
But like the actual film and the idea behind it of it's an interesting character, and it's an interesting sort of look at what they could do with that kind of superhero, which we haven't really seen all that much. Kind of a proper anti-hero. We could, it could be done really well, but again, I'm gonna not hold my breath. We'll see what happens when it comes out.
But, worth holding our breath for Zombieland 2, though, because I can imagine that's going to be cracking.
So I think it's going to, based on rumours, it's going to start production like in January and be out hopefully in October 2019. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Excellent. Lovely. And in some more film news, Billy D. Williams is going to be reprising his role as the delicious Lando Calrissian in Star Wars Episode 9.
I mean, they had to bring someone from the first trilogy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
They could have brought back one of the Ewoks. They could have just done that.
Wicket saves the day again. Yes. Yes.
No, this is good news.
We need a little bit of Star Wars news every week, don't we? So here's some for this week. And yeah, this is good. Like we said before, I'm so sick of Star Wars right now, which I never thought I'd say. But maybe by the time Episode 9 rolls round, I'll be ready for it again.
The one thing I like about this is he's always kind of he's had a touchstone in Star Wars all along. So like he's been involved in other things, but one of the things I liked was the recent Rebels series had him return as a kind of a cameo as well, picking up the same role at around the same time he was kind of... So like when they were talking to Lando, it was before... So because of the way the series is set up, it was kind of before all of the mainline or the original trilogy. So you got to see some of his earlier stuff. So it was just nice to see that character back. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with him in Episode 9.
Yeah. So finally, in our news for this week, Netflix have announced a new animated series from the writers behind Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes, this was added by me because I'm incredibly excited.
I thought it might have come from you. So
Voltron is also from the same writers, isn't it?
Yes, or at least they're involved. Yeah. So there's kind of a few people involved in that would be slightly different, but yeah, those would be the main people. In terms of this one, it's obviously the screenwriter Aaron Ehaz. Don't ask me. Anyway, he's been involved in like a number of different things, but Avatar: The Last Airbender was the one that kind of caught my attention, and anything involving people from that kind of gets my attention anyway. But there's also people involved in this new show, like Justin Richmond. He was a game developer.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
On Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3. Like he worked with Naughty Dog, and I remember seeing interviews with him. So like he's now involved in TV series and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool just to see like people that we know from different things joining up together, you know?
I think I remember when he left Naughty Dog. And I think I remember people were like, another developer leaves Naughty Dog. And then it turns out that they're working on things like this. And it's like, sometimes people just want to change. Sometimes people just want to do something different in their careers, and this is good proof of that. So,
and then we get new shows on Netflix called The Dragon Prince because of it.
Dragons, I'm on board.
So yeah, I also thought both of you guys would be interested in this because it's called Dragon Prince, which involves... It's a story about two princes and an elf assassin on a quest, basically an epic fantasy role-playing campaign, almost like a D&D campaign.
Nice.
So it's going to be interesting. To be honest with you, the thing that caught my eye on this was The Last Airbender. So anything involved anything with people involved from that is going to get my attention and going to get me kind of hyped up. So I'm looking forward to this. It's a new show, no idea when it's going to release yet, but it's an animated show, so it might take a bit of time to actually get done. But I expect we'll hear more about that at Comic-Con.
Fabulous. And Comic-Con is just around the corner. So
exactly,
we should have some quite exciting announcements, trailers and things to discuss in the not too distant future.
Prepare for the avalanche of trailers.
Oh my god, yeah. So that is our news for this week. And now we move on to our topics. And we're going to start off with Alex, who's been watching some fabulous ladies pulling off fabulous heists.
Guys, I'm not even going to lie. I think this was my most anticipated movie for this year.
Excellent. I don't blame you. Kate Blanchett is a goddess. So.
Oh, she's such a goddess, guys.
Yeah. But anyway,
I mean,
this is Ocean's 8.
I think I might change my orientation and just become lesbian just for her.
I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you at all.
Totally.
Can I become a lesbian too for her?
Sure.
I don't know if that's...
Everyone can be whatever they want to be. Go for it.
Okay, so Ocean's 8, when I heard it coming out, I was kind of a bit skeptical. I was like, look, it's got such fabulous people, Sandra Bullock, Kate Blanchett, Rihanna, my favorite, Helena Bonham Carter. I love Helena Bonham Carter.
I know you do.
Just so much. And just a side note, her dress for the gala that was shown in the movie is the most fabulous outfit that I've ever seen. It's so Helena Bonham Carter and it's so pretty. Everyone Google it immediately.
This film essentially is like your Jurassic World to me. To me, like how Jurassic World to me is just like mouth agape at the screen throughout. This is your version of that.
Yeah. So, basically a little background. So everyone knows Ocean's, what was it, 11, 12, 13, whatever, which was Steven Soderbergh's creation, obviously with George Clooney and Brad Pitt and all the lot. And now there's sort of, everyone's calling it a gender swap in the main thing. And I'm kind of a little bit disappointed that everyone's sort of thinking about it in the same vein.
Oh, people have no imagination.
Ghostbusters. And I don't quite agree with that because sure, it's got all the fabulous ladies, but it's set exactly in the same universe. So Sandra Bullock plays Debbie Ocean, which is Danny Ocean's sister. So it's clearly the heists run in the family. She says that much in the movie. And she's also been in prison, and she's coming out with a wonderful plan. Well, wonderful, you can take it or leave it. What do you think about the wonderful plan? But with the plan to steal 15 million, a necklace from the Met Gala, and the necklace is going to be worn by Daphne Cougar, who is played by Anne Hathaway, and Anne Hathaway slays it, guys. Again, Anne Hathaway is an actress that sometimes I love her, sometimes I hate her.
Yeah.
But boy, in that role, she is so fantastic. And you can even see it in the trailers. Like, you don't even have to watch the movie. Just watch her in the trailers, and you're still gonna get what that character is about. And here's the thing. That's the whole thing about this movie. It's just so clear that all these women had so much fun on set.
Oh, good.
And had so much fun filming it. And they enjoyed the company. They were joking so much. I would also recommend, when the movie just came out, Graham Norton did a couch with the 5 of them, or with the 4 of them. What was it? It was Sandra Bullock, Kate Blanchett, Sarah Paulson, Rihanna, and Helena Bonham Carter. And I swear this was the most fun couch that he's ever had in a long while.
What a fabulous group of ladies. I'll watch this eventually, I think, on Blu-ray, but it just seemed so fun. And that's what I'm getting from you, is that you definitely had fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, look, if you can go with a big magnifying glass, you can nitpick that movie for ages and sense for ages, but that's not what it's about. It's heist, it's really different, vibrant characters having fun. It's actually some pretty decent, good sense of humor. It is so much charisma, and it's just fun. It is just unbelievably enjoyable. You watch it and you have a smile all the way through, and you know what? There isn't really like kind of crazy twists and turns or something like that. There is a couple of cameos from the previous Ocean's movies. I'm not going to mention who, but you'll see them come up, and you'll definitely recognize them if you've seen the other movies previously. But yeah, it's just such a good time. And look, I'm going to be biased. Like, I love all those ladies. Kate Blanchett Love her. Sandra
She's
Bullock,
just,
love
Blanchett.
her. I'm still gonna stand by Miss Congeniality until I die, and I'm okay with that.
I don't believe. No, you know what? Miss Congeniality is a great movie, and I will fight anyone that says otherwise. Like, it's really good.
Put on your boxing gloves, Joe.
Yeah.
Put on your boxing gloves.
Why do you not like it, Di? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm broken inside, clearly.
Maybe. I mean, I agree with you on Anne Hathaway. Like, I only like her in certain things. The same, like Devil Wears Prada, love her. Dark Knight Rises, hate her. You know, it's like but it sounds like she's good Anne Hathaway in this one.
No, she's brilliant, Anne Hathaway. Helena Bonham Carter can never do anything wrong for me. I'm sorry. She's womanly
Rihanna?
Perfection. And you know what? Rihanna is good. Like, forget, what is it, Battlefield or whatever?
Yeah,
the crap movie?
Battleship.
No.
It was Battleship she was in.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I haven't even watched it, but I heard terrible things.
Yeah, no, so bad.
She is really good. She is so sassy and so confident and, like, you know that line, what's your name? 9-Ball. What's your real name? 8-Ball.
Excellent. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed
good.
it. This sounds great. Just the kind of movie we need sometimes, like just a fun heist movie with a bunch of fabulous ladies doing heisty type things. So
where is that, by the way? Like, is it on anything at the moment, or is it still in cinemas?
No, it's still in the cinemas. Yeah. It's just recently come out. Well, it's probably dying out in the cinemas. So if you're really interested, I would try to catch it as soon as I can. And look, honestly, I would say this is the type of movie that you will definitely enjoy on a small screen as well. Like, it doesn't have anything extraordinarily special about it, visually or stunningly, that would require a big cinema screen. But it is such a good popcorn experience that if you have a free afternoon and you're like, oh, what do I see in the cinema? I'm not really sure. Ocean's 8. See that.
Well, lovely. Glad to hear that. Moving on to another film at the cinema that's of an entirely different type. Di, tell us all about Skyscraper.
Yes, so I got to see Skyscraper this week. Went to a multimedia screening, or was invited to it. And I went in expecting not much, I'll be honest. And I'll be honest with you again, I didn't get much out of it either. But I did have fun. Like, I kind
That's
of...
good.
I mean, it has rock, so we're good, right?
It does. And he does what he does, you know? He does exactly what you expect him to do. I think the thing for me, we have a review up on the site, by the way. It was written by Andrew, and it's a bit more harsh on the film than I probably would be. But I read through that review, and to be honest with you, I struggle to strongly argue any of the points that it's one of those things, you might go into this and you just might not be in the mood for it, and it might just bounce off you straight away. I went into it, had my expectations set, and I was looking forward to just a bit of fun, and I got that. I got what I wanted. So I enjoyed it a lot more. However, it's kind of hard to say that it's not a bit generic in some places, and it's not a bit... It sets a weird tone even from the start. So the basic story is The Rock plays a character called Will Sawyer, and he is a former FBI rescue team operative. So when the negotiator fails, usually they send in like a SWAT team or whatever. That's his team. And at the very start of the movie, it opens with this. They're in an operation where a father has taken his family hostage. And it doesn't go well. I'll just say that. And that kind of leads to that character, Sawyer, being an amputee. So his left leg is amputated just below the knee. So he becomes a security expert, or he creates a company that's a security company that evaluates multiple things, but in this case, buildings. And he's hired to evaluate the largest building in the world called the Pearl, which has been built in Hong Kong. And you'll see images of it on all the posters. Basically, it's this huge, tall building with this big dome on top of it, and he's asked to kind of investigate the security of the building before it opens up. So the bottom, I think it's like 70 floors or so, have been opened for the public in terms of like their shopping places, and then above that it's going to be all residential. So before it can open like that, and before the insurance companies will give money towards it, or accept money for it, I should say, he needs to sign off on it. And then, obviously, things go awry. There's crime syndicates involved. There's a fire is started in the building, and it just so happens that his family who is staying with him while he's doing the evaluation is above the fire line.
Oh, it sounds fabulous.
When this all happens, he's outside the building and he needs to get back in. It's exactly what you expect. It has... You can clearly tell it's inspired by films like Towering Inferno and Die Hard.
Yeah,
it's inspired by those. I don't think it ever even gets close to reaching their lofty heights, despite the size of this building. But but it's I still enjoyed it. I thought he does a very good job. Like that opening that I talked about. Before I went in, I read up on the film, and the director, his name is Rawson Marshall Thurber. I hadn't really heard that name before. But when I had checked what he had done, he's worked with The Rock previously on Central Intelligence. But before that, he also did Dodgeball and We're the Millers. So that kind of seemed like... Exactly. That seemed like... And I love that movie.
Yeah.
That seemed like a kind of a very comedic sort of start. So I was expecting a lot of cheese and a lot of, what you would expect from that kind of director. But the opening is incredibly dark, as you might expect based on what I told you earlier. And the tone lightens up for brief moments. There's like moments of cheese. There's like little feta cheese just scattered across the movie. It's not loaded with it. And it gets a bit more liberal with it towards the end, but still, like, it's a weird tone. It's similar to Die Hard in terms of its seriousness, but it doesn't have quite as many moments of John McClane just kind of ripping and kind of riffing on bad guys and stuff like that. So it's very strange, but like The Rock manages to do those few comedic moments and even the serious moments quite well. So obviously his motivation is to save his family, and that's all he thinks about. And he does a very good job of keeping the movie going, because it's basically all him. Like, he's the one, you're following him the entire time.
That's what people expect, isn't it, from a Rock movie? I mean, he is the linchpin of the film. And, so just to sum up then, to Rock fans or people that like silly, dumb action movies, would you still recommend this, even though it's possibly not as great as we might have hoped?
I would recommend it. Like, if I was to do this, if I was to grade it myself, I would have given it like a 3 out of 5. And for me, that would be a recommendation. But that would be me personally. But one of the things I really like in this movie is it doesn't... There's a few things that are incredibly predictable. A few of the main beats are incredibly predictable. But what I like about it is there's a few times where they just go the other direction with stuff. So, for instance, his wife in the film is played by Neve Campbell. And she is a combat medic. And what I like about the fact is they don't forget the fact that she's a combat medic. So towards the end of the film, she kicks butt. And I really like seeing that on screen. I really do like it.
I mean, I want to see this. Like, I don't think it's showing at my local cinema just yet, so I need to keep an eye on that, because I definitely want to see it. But anyway, we've got to move on. Skyscraper, that's a recommend from you. Happy about that?
From me, yes. For me, I not a strong recommend, but a recommend.
Which, sometimes you just want to watch a dumb action movie with The Rock in it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, moving on. Now, this movie...
Yeah, moving on to a movie where I noped out on the trailer.
Right, now this movie gets a absolute hard recommend from me. 5 out of 5, I'll tell you that straight out of the gate. So, I don't know if anyone has discussed this previously while I was away at E3 or anything, because it's been out for a while.
Nope. No one was brave enough, Joe. No one was brave enough.
Just like Alex, I noped out of this one hard.
I'm going to talk about Hereditary, which is, without a doubt, the most bold, striking, and impressive horror movie I've seen this year. Easily. It's absolutely deserves to be spoken of in the same breath as films like Carrie and Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist even. Films that are slow burn, tense, and just make you feel incredibly uncomfortable throughout. So I'll give you a very, very loose summary of the plot, because I don't want to go in anywhere near spoilers, because the thing with Hereditary, you want to know as little as possible. And that was one thing that was so good about the trailers for this movie, is that they sold the atmosphere and they sold the intensity of the film, but they didn't tell you anything. And that's really, really important. So trust me, don't Google anything, just watch it. Annie Graham, played by the absolutely brilliant Toni Collette, and she's outstanding in this film. Absolutely outstanding. She lives with her husband Steve, who's played by the great Gabriel Byrne. We love him. And she's a miniature artist. So she creates like these little sort of diorama type things, but for art, which is quite cool. And the film uses those in some quite disturbing fashions. She has a son, 16-year-old Peter, and a 13-year-old daughter, Charlie. And Charlie's a little bit unusual. And her mother, Annie's mother, Ellen, has just died. And they were not close at all. By all accounts, Ellen was a very difficult grandmother and made Annie's life a little bit of a misery. Not going to go into details, but the film starts off and it's obvious that this is a family suffering from real tragedy and things are very, very fraught. And essentially, the film progresses down a very interesting path that diverts entirely from what you might expect it to do from the trailers. I'm being so careful here to not say anything because it's actually really hard to talk about this film without ruining anything. The title of the film is important and it makes absolute perfect sense when you watch it. And basically a whole load of creepy stuff starts going down as the story progresses. Things happen and everything becomes very unstable and you're not quite sure what's real and what's not. Toni Collette is a powerhouse, absolutely carries the entire film, and you just believe everything about it. It's so slow burn. Like, this is the thing, a lot of people might not like this film because it is so slow. It's not about quick jump scares or shocks or fast kind of... You know, like some horror films are very, very eager to get you through the plot so they can just start throwing the killer at you or the ghosts or whatever. This doesn't do that at all.
Yeah.
It's a long film. It's a good 2 hours long. And it is so slow burn and it ratchets up that tension to sometimes unbearable levels. The music is very key to this. It's got a very unsettling score that just kind of... There's like sort of weird electronic kind of background noise almost entirely. And it's very, very clever in how it's designed to make you feel uncomfortable throughout. But honestly, the film just takes itself in a direction that I absolutely did not expect. It was invigorating, terrifying. Like, there are moments in this film where you just gasp at sort of the audacity of it, of how kind of it's just doing something that you just do not expect. It's just terrifying. And I love that. I loved it from start to finish. Dave didn't love it. Dave did not like it at all. So just to give you an example of how people are going to react to this film in very different ways.
Does he normally like
He likes scary movies, but not so much the slow burn ones, whereas they're more my favourite. Okay. I like a film that is things like It Follows and The Babadook and Mama and stuff like that are more about building an uncomfortable tension and rather than jump scares kind of thing, you know? But I honestly... If you like horror movies, I cannot recommend this enough. It's just absolutely striking, original, terrifying, unsettling, uncomfortable, but also invigorating at the same time. Don't Google it. Do not look at anything on the internet about this film. Just watch it, if you can. So, yeah. No, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's a hard 5 out of 5 from me. Best horror film I've seen all year.
I think I'm going to have to wait until it's on a streaming service. And then I'm going to have to watch it through my fingers. You
should watch it because, like, I think it's the kind of film that it really deserves you to kind of try, at least. Because it really does do some very clever things. And if you're a fan of things like The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby and stuff that kind of is all about that slow burn tension, then you'll love this. So, yeah. Definitely recommend Hereditary. And I've talked about it for long enough. We're running short on time, so we're going to move on now. And Di, you're going to tell us about The Alienist.
Yeah, and as we're running short on time, I'm going to keep this relatively short as well. So The Alienist is as we discussed earlier, it's a limited series. So it's 10 episodes, and it's on Netflix at the moment. I'm not sure when exactly it came up. I think it originally aired in the US on the TNT network. I don't know. I hadn't really heard of it before. It stars Daniel Bruhl, Luke Evans, and Dakota Fanning as the core
very good cast.
And then it has and they're very good in this, by the way, very, very good. The story, it's a kind of a psychological thriller. It's set in 1896 in New York, and it's a kind of begins after a series of gruesome murders of boy prostitutes.
Oh.
So, young boys are basically killed in, like, incredibly gruesome ways, and unfortunately they're not afraid to show it too much. But they, the new commissioner for the NYPD is actually Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, that's of course, yes,
goes on to do certain things. So, but he calls upon a kind of a doctor who isn't really looked upon favorably by the New York Police Department. The reason being is he's an alienist. And basically, that's like an early criminal psychologist.
Oh.
So, in the 19th century, anyone who was suffering from a mental illness was taught to have been alienated from their true natures.
I see. Yeah.
What the hell that means. So the people who studied them were called alienists. And you can see, the character he plays is called Laszlo, Dr. Laszlo
And this is based
Kreisler.
in fact, right? In terms of, or kind of loosely.
I think, like, in terms of the setting and all that, yes. I think the story is based on a novel written by Caleb Carr. I haven't read it, so I can't tell you how accurate it is to the novel, but it's based on one of his books. It gave me strong Jack the Ripper vibes, and it also kind of, in terms of the way it's shot and everything like that, it reminded me a lot of Penny Dreadful.
Oh, excellent. See, I've had this in my list for a while and I've not had time to watch it, but you're saying all the right things, Di, so I'm going to have to watch it.
It's very, very good. So basically, this criminal psychologist, Dr. Kreisler, played by Daniel Bruhl, gets one of his friends, his name is John Moore, he's a newspaper illustrator, to help him. That's played by Luke Evans. So he's the one who goes to the crime scenes and draws the bodies. And he uses that because he sometimes can't go to the sites himself because he's not really allowed. He's not a police officer. So he needs, like, John to go there to get all of the detail of the body so that they can actually investigate and see what's going on. As I said, it's a 10-episode show. The story basically involves Laszlo setting up a kind of an unofficial task force, including John, Sarah Howard, who's played by Dakota Fanning. She's like the secretary of Teddy Roosevelt, and he's kind of battling a lot of corruption in New York, so he kind of trusts her far more than he trusts his own police officers. So he trusts her to go and work with Dr. Kreisler on this case because he thinks people are hiding things from him. So that's the kind of the basis of the show. And he also has two Jewish brothers who work in the police department, but because they're Jews at that time, they're not treated very well at all. So they're kind of outcasts. So, but they are kind of early criminologists. Yeah, I'm gonna mess that up. Yes, that's the word. They're like early versions of that themselves. They have like these newfangled ideas, like fingerprints.
Now hang on.
Like that. You know, exactly. So it's kind of like they set up a core group and then they investigate these murders and try and figure out who is behind it. And as you can guess, over 10 episodes, it kind of goes back and forth. It's incredibly well shot. Incredibly well acted. It's written incredibly well. The one of the names I noticed on the writers list is Kari Fukunaga.
Okay.
Who was involved in True Detective. Board. So exactly. So it's well worth watching. When I saw its nomination on the Emmys earlier, I was like,
good.
Yeah, that sounds
excellent.
Right. So I would strongly recommend
this. Well, that's good. So
not to promote. Well, why not? I'll promote another podcast.
Yeah,
we promote
go for it.
Anyway, a lot of times. But Empire podcast, they did an interview a while ago with all the three main cast of Alienist that I would recommend finding out and listening. If you want to look it up, their names are probably in the title of episodes, so it shouldn't be too hard. But yes, if you watched Alienist and you're curious to hear more, they've got a really good interview.
Well, that's our topics, and that's 4 recommends, 4 for 4. So, good stuff.
It's a good week.
That brings us to the end of our podcast, apart from the obvious shout-outs. Di, you do the shout-outs this time.
Yes, okay. Thank you to Stingo, Stealthy Joe, Will Driver, Gabriel, Bro Pete 390, Freya Goddard, and Richard Kirk.
Thank you very much to all of those. Alex, there's Tabletop Tuesday this week, yes?
Yes, there's always Tabletop Tuesday on a Tuesday in Loading Bar in Dalston, London. This week, our board feature game is Starship Samurai. Now, Tim's been raving about it for a very, very long time. I unfortunately didn't get to play it, but I was present on the night when it was played 3 times in a row, so I'm gonna assume it's good.
I like the name. The name is cool.
Yes, and it's got absolutely gorgeous minis. The minis are to die for, so it's a really great game to win. And come on a Tuesday. You can win it just by playing. We'll put your name in a drawer, and at the end of the night, about 10:30, we'll randomly select one name and give one copy of the game away.
Lovely. And that's Loading Bar in Dalston, yes?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Lovely. Do we have any other shout-outs for today?
No, I would quickly say that since people may have or may not have noticed that I've deleted Facebook, so for a while I didn't have access to check if anyone's been commenting on our Facebook posts on Big Red Barrel. So I apologize if there haven't been shout-outs to people who have wrote in. I'm gonna get some access to Facebook, to Big Red Barrel Facebook group, so I'll be able to look them up again. But sorry if you were missed before.
Facebook is like, the graveyard these days. So it's good. It's fine. I still use it, but yeah, reluctantly. Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 142 of Big Red Barrel Geek Speak. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to hearing. We look forward to you listening to us next time. So that brings us to the end of episode 142. Thank you so much for listening. As ever, you can check out the website at BigRedBarrel.com. Follow us on Twitter at Big Red Barrel, or you can connect with us using our personal Twitters. I'm at Pixel Ritual.
I'm at DustyTulip_.
And I'm at Diarmuid_S.
And of course, there's a YouTube channel, Big Red Barrel TV, where you can watch all the podcasts there, if that's your preference. No worries at all. But with that, we'll bid you adieu and see you on the very next episode. I have been Jo.
I've been Butts.
I've been Diarmuid.
And we bid you goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Butts. And the damn neighbors brought out their lawnmowers.
They're like, oh my god, it rained! Quick, mow the lawn!
Just in time. Just in time.
You and your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarrel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.